All right, everyone, I'm back. My blood pressure's high. I'm a little upset about that last part. No kidding, right? Let's continue. If you have not watched the first three parts, I strongly recommend you do. That entire last part was about Project 7. Now we're past that. We can continue on. Let's continue on.
That's the thing. Like, you shouldn't have to go to your friend consistently and bring up, like, why did you say this? Please give me the money you owe me. This isn't fair. You know,
Yeah.
it puts you in a terrible position to have to keep doing that, and it's tough.
But then it gets to a point where you just get irritated because the guy don't give a shit about you or anyone else. That's what's irritating the most, man.
So, again, since I'm addressing things that have been said publicly and giving you my side, some other things that happened over the years, man. I'll get into this quickly. Some things started going down, man. More of him, again, like I said earlier, exaggerating things, putting words in my mouth, whatnot. So there's a situation that goes down where it involves, of all things, Howard, Mario Party.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm just going to let this entire story play. 100% of this story is true. I am 100% guilty. So I can sit back and relax and shake my head at what a fucking asshole I was. Ready?
Involving Mario Party. So people were going out there and saying, you know, because we were doing a lot of co-ops, so they're like, we want to see you play Mario Party with John. We want John and Phil to play Mario Party. Please play it. Phil decides he wants to play it with his girlfriend, which is perfectly fine. I really don't care. It's perfectly cool. And just to put it out there, I have no problem with his girlfriend. I've met her a couple times. She was very nice to me. I got nothing bad to say. She's cool people to me. Okay?
That's my ex. Been out of the picture for many, many, many years. That's all we got to say about it. Let's continue.
Okay, whatever. So he wants to play with his girlfriend. He makes a video where he says that John doesn't want to play Mario Party. John likes gritty, mature type games. He doesn't want to play that. I'm going to play it with my girlfriend. It's flat out lie. I was up for playing whatever he wanted to play, especially if people wanted us to play it. And, you know, to prove my statements correct, and to support them, look at the stuff that we did play. So much crazy stuff, all the Kinect games, Kung Fu Riders, or whatever else, man. Whatever he wanted to do, whatever the people wanted us to do, I would certainly do it.
Oh yeah, I could do a testament to that because you and I played some really shitty games, man.
And it's hard to dispute that. So I draw the line of Mario Party, but everything else is fine.
Yeah.
So what happens is he says, "Oh, John doesn't want to play that," you know, and this is something that people are asking for. So what happens? The common theme: people get pissed at me, and I start getting while I'm going about my business during the day. I start getting messages, and people are pissy. Oh, it's not mature enough for you, you big nosed piece of shit. Maybe not exactly that, but along those lines, man.
Fucked up.
Oh, man.
That's what he was getting.
And
That's
again,
fucked
I
up.
bring this up to his attention because he wants to talk about how, you know, you're supposed to say things that you feel if you're a man and whatnot. So as I've already given you several examples, here's another one. And I tell him what's up. He apologizes, just like the several times before that. And it starts to click, you know. If someone just keeps saying sorry when they do something, they're not really apologizing, right? If apologizing isn't just words, it's I will not do this thing again.
So, again, the timeline is skewed, okay? Because the way this video was presented was Phil made a video about us on Thanksgiving, right? Phil unfollowed us on Thanksgiving the year before. Phil did something wrong with Project 7. He spoke out of turn, saying that I didn't write the series, and he apologized profusely for that. Okay. Phil said that Respect the Pack didn't want money. Okay. Right? Well, I mean, I'm going in the order now that was just discussed in the video. Okay. So now he says the next situation where there was a real issue between me and Phil was that he lied about Mario Party. Okay? He's right. 100% correct. I lied. I made it up. All right? I mean, do you want the justification? There is none. My ex wanted to play Mario Party with me, and everyone wanted me to play it with Rambo, but my ex wanted to play it, so we played it, and I lied. That's it. Stupid. Bad. Dumb. You know. And he took the heat for it. He did. He got harassment online that he was the reason why we weren't playing Mario Party together, which is bullshit. Okay? So, this is the second time in our history together that John confronts me about something. You know? He says, why are you saying these things? To which I apologized to him. I said, no, you know, you're right. This is me being stupid, being, again, insecure on the internet, having a face to the public. And this is the second time. First time, I basically said you weren't as big a part of Project 7 as you were. I shouldn't have ever made that video. This time, I'm lying about, you know, Mario Party. Okay? So I was friends with John since the mid-2000s up until at this point, that's like 2013. Maybe 2014, but I think this was 2013. And the entire time we're friends, there's 2 times that John is mad at me for something. Each time, he addresses it. I apologize. I admit I did wrong. And we apparently got over it, right? Like, again, did John say, man, that's the last straw, you're a dick, I'm not going to come over and do co-op with you anymore, we're not going to do Smart Guys, we're going to not be friends ever again? No, that didn't happen. Life continued. We buried the hatchet, right? We did. So, he's bringing these up in the video, but we were fine. So how is this anything to do with the fact that you ghosted me for a year and a half and then kept changing your tune when it came to making content with me, but then wouldn't tell anyone on the internet but me, making me the guy who has to tell everyone everything you're saying because you won't tell anyone, you're silent on the matter publicly, right? I don't get it. The whole point here is, you know, he's making mistakes and apologizing. If he keeps apologizing, it doesn't make it's not truthful. He's just saying it. Okay, but then fine. Then why didn't the relationship end there? What are you talking about? If you didn't trust me then, why did the relationship continue on? And why do we have a friendship for another 2+ years? It doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? These were things that were done and handled, but apparently not. On my end, they were because he told me they were. I can only know as much as he tells me. Again, I'm not psychic. There's another theme in this. I'm not psychic. It's like I was supposed to be psychic and know this and that about this and that when no one said a word to me, right? I'm not a psychic. I didn't know that he was still pissed about that. We talked about it. Apparently, it's done. But now, I can't trust him. Oh, but I was still his friend and still did co-op. I still took a paycheck. We still went on trips. Like, huh? I don't get it. That, again, very confusing to me. All right? Let's continue.
Because I feel bad about it. If you keep doing the thing, it's not actually an apology. What do you think about that?
No, I agree with you 100%. And it seems as if it's like a common
I keep doing
theme.
It was twice so far. Twice.
He wants to do something.
In an over decade-long friendship.
And or somebody keeps, like I was telling you, man, he falls right victim to it all the time. Somebody keeps prodding him through social media or whatever for X, Y, and Z, and he falls right into the trap. Yeah. And it happens every single time. He could have just been up front and said, well, I want to play Mario Party with my girlfriend, and that's it.
But he wants to look, I have to make myself look good. Yeah, I'll blame it on John.
I'm going to blame it on John.
That big-nosed piece of shit.
I don't know about that.
He did not say that. I'm not saying that. I'm just joking there. But, yeah, that's exactly what it is, you know. Yeah. Oh, here's my scapegoat that I could get out of the situation. Because if I play with her, people are going to thumb down the video or something, or be mad that John's not there, so he didn't want to play.
Right?
Yeah. Let's get into some stuff here. Basically from when he moved. In the Thanksgiving video that he put out, his timeline is completely fucked. He talks about how we had plans in the fall. He was going to move. He moved in June. And John and I had plans in the fall. We were to start doing stuff. Now, on this same channel that he's saying these things on, there's videos from that time period where he's talking about doing stuff in that summer. So his timeline is screwed, man.
Yeah, but the timeline he's talking about is the newly established timeline. Like, again, okay, I guess I got to go through this quickly. When I moved out here, the whole intention was that within a few weeks, maybe a month, we were going to start doing content together again over the internet. A digital version of our commentary show, Smart Guys, over Skype. and maybe co-op gameplay over the internet like we had done before. He's the one who said, no, I can't do it. Okay? So he's talking about a video from Thanksgiving of 2015. That's the the amended timeline. The amended timeline was he told me we could do stuff in the fall. So that's why I said in the video from 2015, well, the idea was we were going to go out there and play in 2015, right? I'm just giving the amended timeline based on what he told me. So why is this an issue? He's like, oh, here's evidence that Phil's lying in the video. That's not a lie. That's what you changed the timeline to. This is a year and a half later. Of course, I'm going to tell people what the current timeline was, not the original one that got changed. What are you talking about, John?
It's not true. There was no plan to wait till the fall or anything like that. Basically, what he said was after he moves in a couple weeks, we'll start doing things. So he moves in June, things are fine. I actually go there and help him move some stuff out. Mm-hmm. And okay, let's get into this. So no, I'm not upset that he moved. Okay, and I'm angry or jealous or something, or I got left behind or something like that. If someone's moving, by the way, I've said this to him. I've said this publicly on the show. Right before he moved, he was on the show with me. If someone is moving or making a change in their life because they feel it will improve their life, I support that 100%. Just like I've always supported him 100%. You know, or anyone, man. Howie, if you told me you're moving to Iceland tomorrow because it's going to give you a better life, I'm going to be over there helping you pack, dude.
Cool.
You know, how could you feel otherwise? And that's my take on that, man. Have you had friends that moved away? Did you do you hate them for doing that?
No, still talk to them and everything else, and you know, and going back, you know, I wanted to touch a little bit on that whole moving thing. You know, I was a little upset. I was very upset at the fact that he sent me a text message like last minute asking me to do like a co-op.
Okay. He's going to get into this story, which I forgot. I didn't even realize this was next. I thought it was a different thing coming up. The only reason John talked about that in that segment is because I brought it up in that Thanksgiving video that we watched at the very beginning of this. And in that video, I said, I don't know. Maybe he's resentful that I moved. I don't know. I literally say it's all me guessing because John hasn't said a word to me about why he won't talk to me anymore. Okay. So he's only directly addressing what I suggested and saying it's not true. However, I will direct your attention. I don't have it in this video, and I should have. I will direct your attention to the final podcast that I ever appeared on when I lived in Connecticut. All right? It was a goodbye show. Like, there was a segment, Goodbye Phil or whatever. I don't know when the show was. But in that segment, basically, we have a really good heartfelt segment that wishes me the best. It's him and OJ and me all talking. OJ's his friend, who he did the podcast with. And we had a great conversation. And I got off the show, okay? And that was it for me. I started getting messages later that night. People were like, Phil, or not later that, because he didn't do the show live. He did it, he uploaded it to YouTube after the fact. So whenever it went live, I started getting messages from my fans, some of my fans, and actually a couple of my moderators again. And they go, Phil, are you aware that John, when you left the show, said this? I was like, what? What did he say? He basically made a joke with OJ, his friend, that now OJ's not going to abandon him, is he? And they said, even though it came off, or he spun it as a joke, it was very creepy, and people actually took it as like, even though he didn't outright say it, that it kind of had a nugget of truth in it, that he really was sad that you were moving away, and that was his way to kind of say it. And I'm like, no, I didn't hear that. I watched it back. I was like, he did say it. He like literally everything on the show up to that point, he's like, happy for you. Everything's good. And as soon as I'm off the show, he says to his friend, hey, so you're not abandoning me now, are you? It's like, wait, what? Huh? It kind of almost negates the whole segment of the show. All right? So that's why I always had this bug in the back of my head wondering, was there resentment that I left Connecticut and there was no more in-person co-op? There was no more traveling for events or anything, right? It all went away when I moved. Okay? That's just a guess. He says no. I believe him. I do. But that's why I brought it up in the Thanksgiving video, and that's why he's addressing it here. Now we're going to talk about, here we go again, something else with Howard. I don't know why Howard is involved. This is supposed to be a video about me and my relationship with John, right? But here we go. Another Howard segment. And let's do it. Here we go. Ready?
With him. And basically, actually, let me retract on that. Basically, I think what ended up happening was I got caught. Like, he sent me a text message, I agreed to it, and I think I got caught in like a jam with something. And I told him, I'm like, dude, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it. You know, I got some stuff going on, and this and that. And basically, he makes me feel like shit. Because he writes back, he goes, well, if you don't show up, it just basically solidifies the fact that we're not friends.
Wow.
And dude, he made me feel like shit. Like, seriously, like shit.
Yeah.
So what I said was, I was something I had to do with Jasmine. I told Jasmine, I go, listen, I'm just gonna go. You know, I'm gonna end up going just saying the guy's leaving, and you know, whatever. So we go. You know, we do our playthrough or whatever, right? So he goes ahead after the fact, never sends me a text message, doesn't call me, doesn't ask me how I'm doing.
From when he moves.
From when he moves. So from that point, I sent him a couple of text messages here and there, and I'm gonna go into something, John, because this basically goes in line into what we were talking about.
Yep.
So I sent him text messages, some random ones, you know, Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving. Doesn't reply back. So I thought that he changed his number.
Okay, so he moves in June.
Yeah.
You never hear from him again, basically.
So I never hear from him again. So
okay, let's talk. Again, we already talked about this in this React. All right, I did not have a close personal friendship with Howard. The communications I had with Howard were like, hey, are we going to do Project 7? Are we working on that? Or are we going to go to a convention together? Let's convene on that. Let's talk about that. When we first had started being friendly, he would invite me over to his home to play Super Turbo with everybody else. Okay? I think what happened was during the course of Project 7, Howard started to hate me. Okay? He just hated my guts. He was mad that I was making so much money and they didn't make anything on Project 7. He was mad that apparently I owed him money for the shirts. He was mad about a lot of things. I get the feeling there's a lot of resentment there, and he basically was very angry that, you know, I don't know, maybe I had things he didn't have. Who knows? I don't know because he never told me, okay? What I noticed was a pattern of increasingly bad, negative behavior towards me, starting with the adjournment of Project 7 in late 2012, even though we did continue to travel and do other things, okay? Definitely, one thing I noticed was he basically, like when he was having a get-together for Super Turbo, okay? He used to text me about it and say, Phil, I'm having a get-together for Super Turbo on such and such a date. I hope you can come, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, he stopped texting me entirely, okay? Anything like that. It was John who would contact me and say, hey, Phil, just so you know, we're all going over Howard's on Saturday for Super Turbo. You could come too. And I was like, but he didn't invite me. No, you're invited. Oh, okay. And then I would go over and it would be fine. I would show up. You know, it's not like he was like, what the fuck are you doing here? You know, apparently I was invited. I don't know. Now in retrospect, I almost wonder if I wasn't. You know, I almost wonder if actually, because now you think back, like I say, hindsight's 20/20. I wonder if he really didn't want me there. You know, and it was John who was like, dude, why are you being like this, Howard? Like, dude, he didn't do nothing wrong. What are you talking about? You know, let him. You know, he's a Super Turbo player. He's renowned. We're gonna learn from him when we play with him. He's a guy's guy. You know, what are you doing? Why are you being like this? Who knows? I don't know. Right? But again, I stopped getting the direct messages and invites from him. It was always like through Rambo. Again, we did not have direct friendly conversation. Rambo, every week we had friendly interactions and conversations as friends. He was come over to do co-op. We would have that hour, 2 hours before we even started recording to talk about personal shit. Okay? I never had that with Howard. Ever. Only when we were over at his place to do something, to film, to play Super Turbo, whatever. That's when we had our interactions. Okay? In the end of the time that I was in Connecticut, Howard and other people in the Super Turbo community were going to tournaments and stuff themselves and not inviting me anymore. Like I didn't even know they were going. And then I would hear through John, oh, they're going to the tournament this weekend. I was like, they are? I didn't know anything about it. So essentially, I know what happened. He really got upset with me over the Project 7 thing. He never said a word. And he became passive aggressive. Instead of, oh, let's hash it out, he didn't care. He basically saw me maybe as a toxic influence in his life. Who knows? Now, along these lines, at the same time this is all happening, Howard was infamously known as the guy that when you invite him for something or he says he's going to do something, he cancels. Okay? Not just me saying this. Everyone says this. At this time, I don't know what was going on with his personal life or whatever, but he would frequently say, yes, I'm going to be there. Yes, I'm going to do that. Yes, I will be involved. And then he cancels at the last minute. Okay? He had done this to Rambo frequently when Rambo was trying to film Shazman and Hole Punch, where he's like, oh, we're going to do scenes today. Cancel. Okay? So this was a running thing. John and I would talk about this all the time. That John was an infamous, or Howard was an infamous canceller. And we didn't know what was going on. Okay, all you could do is speculate. Maybe it has something to do with his personal life, with his girlfriend or whatever. Who knows? I don't know. I don't care. I just, if you try to get Howard involved in, oh, there's a 3-player game going up. Should we invite Howard to play? And John would be like, I don't know, man. You don't know if he's going to show up or not. And like, you're right. We don't even know if he's going to show up or not. I don't know. So do we invite him or not? Okay? So, again, now in retrospect, maybe he canceled on me tons because he didn't like me. I don't know. I think that's what it probably was. I'm just speculating. He never told me. Okay? So, after all this time, finally it's time for me to move. We're mid 2014. And I had told everyone about the final party for weeks on end. I was bringing back people who hadn't been in my place in years. People from the old school days of me playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 who I hadn't seen in years. You know, this is a big to-do, a big shebang. I wanted everyone there who wanted to hang out with me for a final time because it was a way for me to say, hey, come on over. We're going to party. I'll pay for it. We'll have food. We'll have booze. We'll have games. We'll have a great old time. Okay? Was there recording during that? Yes. Absolutely there was. Was it meant to be, oh, this is a giant co-op gameplay event? No, it was not. That was not what it was supposed to be. Now, Howard here references 2 completely different events as one. He's saying there was a final co-op event or whatever. But then he's talking about, like the final party, he's going away forever or whatever. They're 2 completely different events. Okay? But he's referencing them as one. I don't know how he got them confused. Apparently he did. Okay? So, we were supposed to have 2 events. One was going to be a final co-op where Howard and John were going to come back and we were going to do co-op gameplay along with our friend Joe of the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games playthrough. This was agreed to weeks in advance. This was not supposed to be my go-away party. Okay? It wasn't. This was agreed to like, this is going to happen, one of the big playthrough, final big co-op shebang or whatever. Okay? So, he agrees to it. All right? Now, John says, I don't know, Phil. I don't know about this. He does this all the time. He says he's going to show up. He's not going to show up. Last minute, within 24 hours of this event supposed to be happening, all right, he tries to cancel. Does he have, now, by the way, it's fully known I'm moving. This is it. This is the last thing we will be involved in together. This is the last hurrah, the goodbye. Phil, thanks for everything. Have a good life in Washington. We'll, hopefully we'll talk or whatever when you move or whatever. So, fine. Okay. He tries to cancel. He texts me and says, I got caught up with something I'm doing with my girlfriend. I can't come. I was like, dude, I knew this was going to happen. So, I texted him. And I said, Howard, now this is me paraphrasing. I don't have the text anymore. It's basically, Howard, I'm going to be honest with you. All right? I don't know if you got a problem with me or not. I don't understand what's going on. I definitely have noticed a change in attitude towards me these last few years. All right? I really don't know. It's a personal issue with you on your side. If I did something wrong, I have no idea. I wish I knew. Okay? But this is literally the last time that you can spend with me before I move. We may never even see each other in person again. I mean, John and I have plans to do cooperative shit. We don't. So this is it. This is like the goodbye celebration for us to do his final cool playthrough. It'll last in history forever. For you to cancel like this last minute, it's not like, ahead of time he said, no, he can't do it. Last minute, within the 24 hours of it happening, saying he can't come, I get the feeling that there's an issue here. I said, so what you're essentially saying is, whatever this thing is that you're doing with your girlfriend, I don't know if it's important or not. If it's important, fine. Tell me that. Say, this is a really important event. I need to be with it, or my girl, or whatever. If that's what it is, that's what you're telling me here. Okay, I'll accept it. But, if this is just you dodging me, think about how messed up that is. This is you essentially saying you don't value all the years of friendship that we've had anymore. Even if you don't even like me anymore, just to show up for one last time, to say goodbye. Like, you wouldn't even give him that. You know what I mean? Is it a guilt trip? Fuck yeah, it is. Fuck yes, it is. I guilt tripped him because I couldn't believe that someone who I supposedly was friendly with all these years, we'd done all this work together. We had all these fun times together outside of the work, as Super Turbo players, as Street Fighter players, as friends, I thought. Okay? I thought that this would have been something meaningful to him. This is the last chance you will ever see me, possibly. And you're telling me you can't show up within 24 hours of when you said you would already be here because you have to do something with your girlfriend. Don't you think she'll understand to say, my friend's moving away permanently? I'd like to do this with... So here it is. Howard didn't want to say no because he thought that I would then probably publicly say to my audience, Howard doesn't want to come. He didn't want to deal with the repercussions of that, right? He didn't. So he lied. He said he wanted to come till the very last minute, and then he felt, I'm just going to cancel on him again like I always do. And I called him out on his bullshit for once. And I said, no, you're lying. You don't have anything to do with your girl. You don't. I know it. I know you're full of it. So it's that simple. You're lying to me. I'm not dumb. So if you ever cherished our friendship, you'll actually come and say goodbye, or else don't come, in which case I know that you don't like me anymore. Okay? He showed up. We did the playthrough. He said no complaints when he showed up, right? Nothing. Again, this guy is like, it seems to me like this guy is behind the scenes of anything. He will talk shit about you. He will fucking do whatever. But when it comes to being presented with the person you have a problem with or the issue, there's nothing, right? I couldn't believe it, man. I really couldn't believe the way he was behaving near the end there. It was out of control, all right? So he's presenting it to me as a plain lie, you know? Oh, I'll make it. I'll come. Last minute, oh, I can't come. You're lying. You didn't want to come to begin with, or else, you know, like, why did you lie to me for the whole time? I would have just told everyone, no, Howard isn't coming. Big deal. You know, I would have been sad because I like the guy. I like the fact he's funny as hell. I like the fact that he adds something to a room with his comedy, with his personality. He gameplay is funny too. I mean, look at that last playthrough we did together. It was hilarious. He did funny things with John dancing around the room and shit. It was funny as shit, right? But it's pretty messed up that he acted like that and basically was passive aggressive to me for about 2 years since Project 7 ended, increasingly more and more and more. All right, and you know, now he's a hard ass, right? Oh, I demanded that I keep his Super Turbo board to pay for the shirts. That didn't happen. Oh, you know, I couldn't go to his final gathering ever, and he didn't understand. No, Howard, you lied to me. You said you were coming, and then you canceled last minute for something arbitrary. It's the last time you're ever going to see me. If I'm your friend, you would come. You know, it's ridiculous. Anyone who's a friend with someone would say, what is he talking about here? He can't go to the last time he's ever going to see this guy ever? Maybe in life? He can't make it. Oh, okay. Well, your car exploded, right? Your house burned down, or, you know, someone's in the hospital. Oh, no, I got caught up. I got to do something with my girl. Oh. That's like teenager shit. That's like, you know, that's shit that you tell someone you don't care about them at all. That's some dumb shit, excuse you make. You know, the dog ate my fucking homework. Oh, my girl said something. What are you talking about, man? I'm not stupid. I'm not born yesterday. And it really pissed me off. So, yeah, that was lastly the last real interaction that I had with Howard. He came, we did the co-op playthrough. Great. Done. Over with. Okay? So I move across the country. All right? And let's see. Was I actively talking with Howard via text before I moved? No, he was already treating me badly. He didn't want to talk no more. He wasn't telling me about gatherings. He tried to cancel on our last meeting ever. So am I going to be talking with the guy friendly constantly via anything, text calls? Of course not. This is the last guy who wants to deal with me. He made that clear with his actions, you know. I figured it out. So he claims, oh, I was texting him. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He was group texting me. You know, when you group all your friends together. Oh, happy holidays, everyone. And there's group text. He was directly texting me about anything at all. It was only just like arbitrary group text for holidays and things like that. It was not just him. There was tons of people who I had who was doing that kind of stuff from back home. He was only one of many. I didn't respond to any of them. It wasn't like, oh, I was ghosting Howard and purposely not responding to that stuff. It was, you know, you can tell when someone's being real with you and someone's completely faking, right? And he was just doing it to save face, to say, oh, I don't have a problem with Phil. Look, he's on the group text that I sent out, everybody. But he wasn't talking with me otherwise. I wasn't talking with him. So that relationship is done. The relationship, again, that I had was with Rambo. We had planned. We were talking. We were friendly. We were going to do content together, right? So the whole thing here with Howard makes no sense. Yet again, he keeps taking control of this video. He keeps acting like all this stuff is about him. It was never about him, ever. It never. The issue was never with Howard. It was with Rambo ghosting me. That was the issue. I wasn't desperately trying to reach out to Howard and I couldn't get a good anything out of him. It wasn't the case at all. Okay? Now, I believe they're about to get into the thing that I warned you guys about at the beginning. I said, there's a segment coming up that is incredibly personally hurtful to me. All right? I think I'm just going to let this play for a long time. We got the segment. They're going to talk. There's going to be a video. I'm going to talk. Then they're going to talk. I'm going to let it go. And then at the end, I'm going to pause. I don't even know how I'm going to react. I don't. I've seen this a million times, and I still don't know how I'm going to react to this segment. I hope I don't punch a hole in my wall. I hope I don't cry. You know, it's fucked up beyond belief, this next part, really. I can't believe it, that it exists, okay? Of all the things you can say about me, this is the one that's the tipping point for me, okay? I'm just going to let it roll. Let's do it, guys. And like I said, I don't think I'm going to have much to say. Let's just go.
Oh.
After him saying to you, if you don't come here, then you're solidifying that we're not friends. And
we're not friends, right?
Then he moves and there's no communication at all.
So, December 29th rolls around last year.
Yeah, 2014.
And I get, in 2014, and I get a message from Chris and a few other people that's...
I got to clarify, Chris is one of our Street Fighter friends from New York, and basically saying a few other people, this is our circle of Street Fighter player friends he's talking about.
Me too.
That Scott passed away.
Yeah, I start getting messages from Chris. You called me as well.
Yeah.
So you should set it up because it has to do with the Street Fighter community.
It has to do with the Street Fighter community.
Which is a group of people, like, and we don't talk every day to everybody.
Yep.
But it's a group of people that is kind of like a brotherhood, if you will. Might sound silly, but that's what it is to us. It's a brotherhood of people that spend a lot of time together playing games and traveling and whatnot. And when something like this happens, everyone contacts each other and we talk about it.
And we talk about it. So
one of the brothers has fallen.
Yeah. So basically, Scott, and what people fail to realize is Scott is a very old school player. Old school player in the sense the guy was playing since like World Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the true fucking road warrior.
The true OG.
True OG, to the point that, just to throw this out there, if you guys, if anybody that's on this video ever goes and looks this up, the video of Daigo going from the first time Daigo ever showed up in the U.S., and this was for an Alpha 3 tournament in the 90s. Alpha 3 or Alpha, I think it was Alpha 3.
Mm-hmm. And
he flies from Japan, and the Japanese media are following him around. And this is when he was going to play in this tournament, and he fought, his opponent was Alex Valle, when Alex Valle was in his, like, teens.
Okay.
In the video, if you look in the video, fucking Scott's there. Now, Scott fucking went from Connecticut to fucking California to play Alpha 3. Okay?
Yeah.
He's a fucking OG.
Yeah.
He doesn't play anymore. But you got to give the guy respect for the accomplishments that he made in the Street Fighter community for the area that we live in.
Okay.
You know? So the guy passes away, right? So what do? I sent him a message.
And you're the only one, by the way, because I wasn't going to contact Phil because I wasn't talking to him at this point. Yeah. Nobody else wanted to talk to him. But Howard here, who hasn't heard from Phil in at that point many months since he moved, you decide I'll be the one to tell Phil.
Yeah, so I send him a message, and I go, I didn't say anything hi or anything like that. The only thing, because the last time I did that, he didn't reply back to me. I said, hey, Scott passed away. That's all I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't reply back to me. Then, this is what fucking burns me, okay? Yeah. This shit fucking burns the fuck out of me. What does the guy do? A week or two later, makes a video about Scott passing away.
So let's actually start with, this is the video. So let's watch the video. So You heard what they had to say so far. This is the video. And by the way, this is a segment of a podcast that I used to do called Hate Live. It's probably the worst named podcast in history. Obviously, it's not about hate, but we're not going to get into that today. We can talk. You want to go watch the Down the Rabbit Hole Dark Side Phil. It explains that moniker is not what you think if this is the first time you're ever hearing about it. All right. But this is a segment of a 2+ hour podcast that I'm doing. All right. This is not a separate video. This is not a special event or anything like that. This is just one segment of a podcast, a variety show that I used to hold on the internet. Here we go. A segment that I wanted to take some personal time here to talk a little bit about a friend of mine, someone who I've mentioned previously on Hate Live podcast. All right, his name was Scott Hovhannissian. In the Street Fighter community, he was actually went by the nickname Vincent Del Pino, and he was, first of all, much older than pretty much anyone who back in Connecticut when we were originally kind of coming up and playing Street Fighter. He was about, maybe I'd say 10 years older, if not a little bit even older than that, than most of us. And he is known as one of the people who was kind of around the Street Fighter community in its very early grassroots. So we're talking when Street Fighter 2 was first taking off, he would be the guy that would fly out to Chicago and had friends out in that area who held a tournament called Midwest Championships. And he was not best friend, but a very close friend of Jason Wilson, who was one of the most known, most renowned tournament organizers for Street Fighter, okay, in the whole country. And so basically Scott was very ingrained and involved in the grassroots Street Fighter community before it blew up, before it became this, it's digital now and everyone plays everyone online. It was more about the in-person arcade experience. And I remember when I was growing up in the 90s playing Street Fighter in arcades, I had a friend of mine named T. Carter, who also I've talked about on the podcast before, who befriended this guy, Scott. I guess what happened was that Scott had started going to local arcades and seeing, what's the local talent like in Connecticut? He was one of the guys who traveled out of the state to play classic Street Fighter, okay? But at the same time, he basically wanted to see what the local flavor was like. Who's good locally? Is there anywhere locally people who may be able to stand up to people outside of the state in a competitive nature? Again, keep in mind, everything was very small. There was maybe 2 or 3 major tournaments in the entirety of the United States in the 90s, okay? And so he, I remember, apparently befriended my friend T, and he'd gone into our local arcade, which was located actually in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and he went into our local arcade and watched T playing Street Fighter and was like, wow, this kid is really good. And I think that, looking at his skill level, the amount of stuff that he's pulling off that he figured out by himself. Keep in mind, again, this was before the internet, right? Before everything was completely public on the internet. He said basically, wow, this kid could maybe stand up to others and could possibly even, be a tournament level competitor. And he was the person who kind of convinced T, come with me, even if it turns out to be nothing, come with me this once to the Midwest Championships. I want to see if you came out to a tournament and played people from all around the country, how you would do. And he actually, from what I'm to understand, he paid T's way to go out to the Midwest Championships. And T ended up winning the very first ever Street Fighter Alpha 3 tournament ever held in the United States. It was held at Midwest Championships. On arcade cabinets. They had gotten advanced copies that you couldn't get anywhere else in the country. Jason Wilson had gotten his hand on advanced copies of Street Fighter Alpha 3, and T ended up winning the whole tournament, to which he got a lot of respect and renown in the mainstream Street Fighter community. They were like, wow, that's pretty awesome that this kid, this unknown player, comes out from nowhere and ends up, winning this major tournament. And so when T came back from that event, he told me all about it or whatever. He's like, you got to start going to tournaments. I was like, how did you even know about this? I don't, again, no internet, right? The internet that existed was so basic. You didn't know about tournaments and stuff. He's like, oh, this new friend that I made, Scott, he's the one who took me out there and you should really meet him. And I remember that T and I went to Scott's house this one time. And we walked inside of Scott's house. And like I said, he's an older guy. He's about 10, 15 years maybe older than us. So we're talking like probably at that time he was in his late 20s, maybe even early 30s. I don't know. I'm not 100%. I never really asked him how old he was because I didn't give a shit. And we go in his house, and he has an arcade cabinet in his freaking house.
He's like, yeah, I play on this all the time. I play Super Turbo. And yeah, he was a Super Turbo player of all things. The game that I'm really good at and I love, it's my favorite game, was his favorite game. He was always really good with Zangief. And Scott was a quirky guy. First of all, he's short, right? He was about, I'd probably say he was maybe about mid 5 feet to 6 feet tall. So he was much shorter than me. So probably mid 5 feet, 5'6", 5'7", something like that. And he had long brown hair that he always tied back in a ponytail. He looked like, the guy literally looked like a grunge rocker from like the 1980s and maybe even early 90s. Is kind of how he dressed, all right?
A lot of flannel.
And he was always kind of like an outdoorsy guy. He always had a job where he was either hands-on, you know? The kind of guy that would either be fixing arcade cabinets, so he's covered in like oil and shit and transistors, or at one point he was a landscaper, then he was into electronics and speakers. So he was that kind of a guy. He always had like tools around or whatever. So I go into his house, he has a freaking Street Fighter cabinet set up there, and we stand there playing Street Fighter for hours, which was out of control. Over the years, you know, I got to know him a little better, and he always wanted me to travel. He's always trying to convince me to travel and go to these tournaments, to which I was like, I don't know. And then eventually I did. Eventually I started traveling. I went to the East Coast Championships, and he was there with us, and we went to many tournaments and stuff together. And then after that kind of died out, I'd probably say around maybe 2002-ish, I took a step back because that was the time when I was just finishing college, or I was in middle of college into finishing college, and I really wanted to find a job that I could keep, and I wanted to basically pay my bills down so that I could get my own place and move out of my parents' house. And at that point, I'd say probably around 2002 to maybe 2004 or 5, even though I played Street Fighter, it was more of a casual thing, and I stopped really going to tournaments and stuff. But I lost track of contact with him during that period of time. And Scott he was a unique personality. Let me explain. He was the kind of guy that he could get along with anyone. He would joke around about stuff. He would be kind of like always the jokester, always trying to be funny. You ever watch when I do a playthrough, or even sometimes when I'm just having a casual conversation or a vlog, and I go, "Oh, you're a dick, man. You guys are a bunch of dicks, man." He used to do that all the time, and he was hilarious. He would just bust out with that in the middle of a conversation, and you'd laugh. And he was a little bit of a weird guy, I'm not gonna lie. My dad knew him because, again, when I was going to the arcade, my dad was like giving me rides to the arcade. This is before when I was a young teenager. I didn't have a car or anything, and Scott would be there playing games and hanging out with T. My dad was like, he's kind of a weirdo, but he was a fun weirdo, and that was the thing. Later on, years later, fast forward to the late 90s, early 2000s, when we were traveling and going to tournaments together, Scott would have this truck. All right, he would actually have like a SUV/truck, and in the truck, he would have multiple TVs. Keep in mind, before games were portable, before even flat screen TVs existed, he would have big tube TVs and game systems hooked up in the truck into his power adapter so that we could play Street Fighter to and from the way to a Street Fighter tournament in the back of his truck. That's the kind of guy that Scott was. It was pretty wild. The stuff that he you know, he came up with. Pretty insane. I actually, if you want to hear the story, a testament to how funny Scott was of a guy, go back to the episode of Hate Live where I talked about ECC stories. And if you remember, I talked about how in our hotel room at one time when we were at the East Coast Championships, I had my laptop, and I had giant beastly Alienware laptop. I mean, this thing was like literally like this thick. It was a
Forgot
big
this
monster.
is in it. Here we
like
go.
Fucking a ridiculous amount. It was super heavy, right? And I guess I had some porn or something on there that I hadn't deleted. And he starts looking on my laptop because I had it in the hotel room. It's my fault, right? It's my laptop. I shouldn't have had that shit in there in the hotel room for everyone to use. And he started playing it for everyone. He goes, "Hey, everyone, come over here and take a look at this giant black meat." And people were like, "What?" And they run over. It's like porn with a black dude banging some white chick or something. It's like, and that was, I mean, he caught me out for having that on the laptop, and everyone was laughing a good laugh. And I remember there was this time when we were all asleep in the hotel room, and everyone was like trying to pass out, and they were all joking around, having fun. I was serious because I was super serious, and I really wanted to do well at the tournament the next day, while everyone else there was really there to have fun. And we were all trying to go asleep in the hotel room, and there was like maybe 10 of us all crammed into this hotel room, and Scott was sleeping under the sink, like in the side room, and he would go, "Oh yeah, oh yeah," and he would just start thumping. So it would sound like he was whacking off, and everyone would crack up, and I would get all pissed. "No, I need my sleep. Everyone quiet. I need to sleep." And I was being an uptight idiot back then, but now I can look back and I can laugh and say that's some pretty funny stuff. But yeah, he was a character. He was, if anything, the best way to describe Scott is that he was a character. And I don't know what happened, what the situation is, because like I said, I haven't met Scott or I haven't met Scott. I haven't seen Scott in over a decade. I mean, it's been that long. I hadn't seen the guy. I hadn't heard about his health. I hadn't been involved with Street Fighter, so it's not like I've heard much about him or seen him or anything. And I do remember at one point, and this was a bad situation, is that probably the early 2000s, I heard that Scott had gotten sick, like really sick, and no one would really talk about what it was. And then all of a sudden, like 2 months after you heard he got sick, you heard, oh, here's Scott's home. He wants us all to go over there. We went over there, and half of his face was paralyzed and just basically like this. Like, he couldn't even move it. Come to find out, as I told you, this guy, he always did physical things. He was a landscaper. He got bitten by a deer tick and got Lyme disease, didn't know it was Lyme disease, didn't get diagnosed by the doctor properly, and ended up having a stroke. So this guy's whole side of his body and face had basically screwed up during this stroke, but after a few years, he rehabilitated it, and he ended up going back and being, full capacity and living a full life. I know that he had a family, and I had kids, and I really, like I said, it's been over a decade. This is what happens. You're friendly with people because of a certain thing like Street Fighter, and then you kind of fall out of touch with them, and really I haven't heard from Scott in a long, long time. And then all of a sudden this week, I kind of got a few messages from people like Howard and a few other people back home who knew Scott, who kind of texted me and said, Phil, I don't know if you heard, but Scott passed away. And I'm like, damn, I don't know what it was from. And is it a shock? Yeah. But at the same time, I haven't seen the guy in so long. I mean, anything could have happened. You know what I mean? Like, anything could have happened. Who knows what happened to the poor guy? But to lose someone like that, I mean, he literally was the guy who motivated people in Connecticut to get off their butts and get out of the local arcades and said, you got to get out there and you got to try to play the other competition because it's a lot of fun to travel and to meet people. And I'll be honest, a lot of the times, you guys have heard me gripe and complain about Street Fighter, and I openly admit that a lot of the time, when I talk about Street Fighter, it kind of has a negative association with it because I'm like, damn, I spent a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources of my life traveling to play Street Fighter, and what did I really get for it? And you can be like that, you can be negative like that, all right? But at the same time, I like to maybe take a positive spin at it and say, well, no, not really, because if I never played Street Fighter, I would never have gotten the confidence to do the kind of stuff that I did, to stand on an arcade cabinet in front of hundreds of people playing a game in person. I was on stage at Evolution in front of thousands of people in the finals of Super Turbo. And if I hadn't done that stuff, would I ever have had the balls to turn on a camera in front of me and talk to it and record myself and do all the stuff that I do today that I've been able to do for a living since 2011? You know what I mean? And in a large capacity, I really think that becoming a competitive Street Fighter player gave me the confidence to do the other things in life that I ended up becoming successful at. So if it wasn't for Scott motivating all of the state of Connecticut and really giving us the initial push to leave the state of Connecticut and go to New Jersey and go to Chicago and travel and meet people from all over, I never would have met half the people I met in my life. I never would have seen half the stuff that I've seen in my life. I never would have experienced a lot of the fun things that I've done in my life, and I may not have even be here. This podcast itself may be owed to the direct actions of Scott Hovhannissian. And you say to yourself, wow, the chain reaction, the domino effect that you can see from a simple little action like don't stand here and play Street Fighter, leave the state and go play Street Fighter somewhere else, yeah, that actually could have, in a way, led to where I am today. So I'm incredibly grateful. Scott Hovhannissian was an amazing character. He was a fun guy. Again, spearheaded the Connecticut Street Fighter community. May he rest in peace. I hope that, obviously that his family and everyone, my condolences are with you. And that's it. Okay?
Dude, don't fucking publicize somebody's death. Are you fucking serious? You don't do that, man.
And the bigger issue is, like, he never said anything back to you.
Doesn't say anything back to me, but dude, don't publicize.
Thanks for the information. I'll put this in the video, but I'm not going to say nothing to you.
Not only that, what does he do? He brings up T, right? Now, T at the time was like one of the greatest Street Fighter players in our area. If he was alive, he probably would have been one of the top players in the country, okay? And he starts fucking talking about this guy, right? So what does that do? Naturally, in our circle of friends, everybody is fucking fuming because there was no need to bring up T. There was no need to bring up Scott. There's no need to bring up people's deaths and publicize it and make money off of it. There's no need for that, man. And he did. You have no respect for people that are alive, that for fucking people that are dead. You don't give a shit about anybody but yourself.
So there you go.
I thought a long time about how I was going to respond to this part. Rather than directly respond to it, I think what I like to do is I'd like to tell you a story. Quick one. About me growing up in Connecticut and, you know, going to arcades and having that first real feeling of like belonging in a group. Because when I was young, I didn't feel that way. It felt like I was kind of like an outcast where I grew up. When I went to arcades to play video games, I kind of felt like, because I had some skill, that like I finally kind of belonged somewhere, you know? Like we all liked Street Fighter and we were all competing against each other and all that. I never thought that like playing Street Fighter was going to change my life. How crazy, right? And it did. In a really good way in the long run. Okay? In the long run. I think what I said there at the end of the video still stands true today, that if it wasn't for me going to an arcade and playing Street Fighter and then being convinced by the people there to go out and do other things with my life. Oh, go play in another state and do this and do that. That really was the formative time for me to be a person who was more outgoing. I was an introvert when I was a kid, okay? And it was going to arcades and playing Street Fighter that kind of gave me that feeling of, wow, people like me because I have skill in Street Fighter and stuff, you know? And T. Carter was my rival at my local arcade, What's Your Game, in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And we grew up playing Street Fighter together over the years. Every version, okay? I told a heartfelt story in that video, that tribute to Scott, about how Scott introduced T to competitive Street Fighter, and then T introduced me, okay? And it changed my life. It really did. I started traveling. I started being more outgoing, meeting people, having good relationships, even though we've already gone around about the trolling topic of how bad that was when I was in competitive Street Fighter as well. That's the other video. That's the Down the Rabbit Hole video about me. If you want to look at that react, I explain that in full. But that was, you know, I really look back at that time so positively. I do. Scott was such a unique dude. T was such a unique guy. And they're not with us anymore. And that's not fair. They were positive influences on this planet. And they're not with us anymore. That's life, man. The best of us get taken way too early. And the rest of us are just stuck here, right? But previous to me making this video about Scott, which I didn't make a video about Scott, let me clarify that. That's a segment of a podcast that I did. One segment, okay? Was the podcast monetized? Of course it was. Everything that I put out was monetized at that time. It was how I made my living, okay? I wasn't doing interactive streams with contributions during them at that time. Everything at that point was ad revenue. That's how I made my life, my living, okay? I paid for everything. And basically, I wanted to do a tribute to him in the best way that I could, knowing that well that my audience was not going to know who he was, right? And I did the same thing with T, by the way. And I don't have that for you. I don't want to play that for you. that's already been there. That's not the subject matter of this video that we're reacting to today. Okay, but basically, I did a T tribute, and in the T tribute, this is something when people always wanted me to talk about on my podcast about my past and stories about my past. And in the past, someone, because I was known on YouTube, obviously, I was a known YouTuber, and people knew from over the years me talking about my old formative days as Street Fighter that I was friends with this kid T Carter before he had passed. Someone came to me one day at not a tournament, excuse me, I think it was a convention, it could have been a tournament, and they handed me a packet of photos. The packet of photos was his personal packet. He said, Phil, I want you to have this. I said, what is this? He goes, you know, these are pictures of T. And actually, Scott's in a couple of them, too. And he says, these are pictures that I want you to have because you are known on YouTube. And he says, T was such a beautiful guy. I'm not talking about his looks. You know, his personality. He was outgoing. He was vibrant. He was full of energy. He was the nicest guy. He had a passion for Street Fighter. He was the best player in Connecticut. The entire time he was alive, he was the best player in Connecticut. Okay? He said, I'd like you to have these pictures because I know you were a friend with T. And you have the ability on YouTube. You have the reach, the clout. You can share his story with people on the internet. So, you know, not only a lot of people know about T because he didn't get to live that long. And you can be the person to tell his story. So I did. I made a video on a podcast just like that. And I had scanned the pictures into my computer. Okay? And I shared it with the world. The podcast doesn't get a lot of views. Okay? The podcast maybe got 10,000, maybe 20,000 views tops. Okay? I thought I did a good job doing a tribute to T. All right? And I did as best I could. Now, I'm going to tell you guys something that nobody knows. I was haunted by T's death for a very long time. I actually feel like it was one of the reasons why I originally had depression. Because it happened to me at a time in my life when, my God, I hadn't dealt with death or loss. And although everyone in Connecticut was hurting at the time when he died, I blamed myself for it. I don't know if I ever told this story before to anyone. But the day when T died, I met him at the mall before he was murdered. And he was saying to me, oh, we're going to go over someone's house and we're going to play some games or whatever. And I had a car, by the way, at the time. I had a car. And he basically offered, hey, you want to come with us or whatever. And I was like, no, I couldn't or whatever. I actually don't remember the specifics. And he was like, all right, cool. Because I was thinking maybe I could get a ride with you if you could drive us over there or whatever. And I was like, no, I can't do it. I'm busy or whatever, Who knows? There's a kid who I've seen a million times before. I'm going to see him a million times again in my life, right? That day, he was walking home from playing Street Fighter at this kid's house, and a gang member decided to shoot him for no reason. I guess, there's all kinds of guesses, and I guess the rumor that hit the streets was that this gang member, this was their initiation. Oh, prove that you're hard enough to be part of our gang by just murdering someone in the fucking street walking home. He got shot. Okay? And I blame myself. Because I said if I had hung out with T that day and I had driven him to his friend's house, I could have driven him home. And maybe he wouldn't have got shot. Now, of course, that's ridiculous. I didn't shoot the kid, right? We all know we're all rational people here. We're rational adults. But this is what happens in your fucking head, okay? And he was my best Street Fighter friend at the time. We were rivals. I always said, like, I was Ken and he was Ryu. Because Ryu was the better one out of the two, right? And basically, this was a major problem in my head. It fucked me up for a very long time. To the point where until I fucking moved out of Connecticut, all right? Until I moved out of Connecticut, it was haunting me. It was causing me mental problems. Before I moved out of Connecticut, I drove to his grave and couldn't get out of the car. I didn't say goodbye before I left because I couldn't do it because I was too fucking weak. Because I was so haunted at losing this guy. And this was many years later. He died in the late 90s. This was 2014, and I couldn't do it. Okay? So when I made that tribute about T, all right, I was trying to make up for it. I was trying to be like, I was so sorry that I couldn't say goodbye to him because I wasn't man enough to do it. And I wanted to make a tribute video about it. And I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought better for more people on this planet to know about T than less. All right? Okay? When I made that tribute to T in that Hate Live podcast, okay, I received more hate towards me than I think I'd ever dealt with before in my life. My trolls basically spun it and said, you have monetized your friend's death. You are scum. You're a piece of shit. All right? I actually had a couple people who reached out to me after I did that tribute to T and said, Phil, thank you. Because we knew T back in the day, and seeing those pictures put a smile on our face and we remembered him. Okay? And that was really nice of you to do it that way because you didn't have to, you know. And, you know, now more people know T's story. So people who knew T were contacting me and thanking me. All right? Now, you say I monetized someone's death. All right? I don't know how worse you could be of a person to say something like that. All right? So, here we are years later. All right? And Howard, who I have not spoken with since I moved, all he's doing is sending me these arbitrary group texts to everyone. Oh, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, this and that, Happy Thanksgiving, yada, 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 right? I know it's all bullshit because we already talked about it. I don't even have to re-explore it. We just talked about all that. I felt like that he had this resentment towards me for years and years before I moved and all of that, okay? So Howard, the end of 2014, sends me a text. Okay? Scott passed away. That's it. That's all the text says. Okay? Doesn't say, hi, how you doing? Just says, Scott passed away. All right? Howard thinks that I take that piece of information to go make a monetized video for personal gain. That's what he's saying literally in this video. Okay? That's what he's saying. Okay? It's what he just said. Okay? All right? Just to reiterate here, this video we just watched, the Hate Live podcast, got 11,000 views on YouTube. Okay? I don't even make $2 per 1,000 views anymore on YouTube at this point. All right? Arguably, this video maybe made, I don't know, $10. No exaggeration. Probably $10, $15 tops. For the entire podcast, the 2-hour video. The video is a 2+ hour podcast. This is one segment of said podcast. Okay? So, you know, he feels that I monetized the death of Scott and that I'm a horrible person because I did it. Okay? And he says, to reiterate, oh, not just me, it's everyone in our friend group, everyone back home. My nose is disgusting. Please, let me blow my nose quickly before I continue because this is gross. Okay? Oh, man. Oh. Yuck. Oh. Okay. That's better. Now we can continue. Okay. Howard says, everyone back home hates me too for doing it. Because I brought up Scott, I brought up T, I publicized Scott's death. I'm a horrible person who only cares about himself. Again, multiple times he's already said this in this video. Okay? Now you guys just saw the podcast segment, right? And you saw it. It's in context now. Okay? So, you didn't... If you were just watching this video, all right? If you were just watching this video with no context provided, what would you think? This is hypothetical. You don't have to answer me. I'm just saying, think in your head. If you didn't know the context, okay, what would you think? What was the video? What did I say? Oh my goodness, right? Here's what I think. If I didn't see the context, I would have thought I made a video talking, like sensationalized video, an expose on how my friend Scott has passed away, sensationalizing it, talking about how he passed, which I don't do in the video, by the way. I mean, shit. He says, I monetized it. You'd think, the way he's saying it, I created t-shirts on the internet with Scott's face on them, saying, R.I.P. Scott. You know, Street Fighter legend forever. And I was selling these shirts with his face on them on the internet, making monstrous profits and using his likeness and fucking about being a horrible scumbag person, making tons of money, right? Wow. I monetized Scott's death. I had already gotten shit for making the tribute about T in a previous podcast. So you might say to yourself, why would Phil, if I already got that hate, if he already got all that shit tossed his way, why would he make a second podcast when Scott passed away? Someone who was very much in that close circle of friends, all right? In order to, he's going to get the same, he knows he's going to get the same shit. The same trolls are going to say the same thing. The same people are going to do the same thing. And they're going to say it's the second time he did it, right? Sorry, I got post-nasal drip. Okay? Why did I do it? Because I don't care about what they say. I care about Scott. I want more people to know about Scott. I care about the memory of Scott. One of the most awesome people I met in the Street Fighter community. The guy who I literally say in that video, if it weren't for him actually saying, hey, Phil, stop playing Street Fighter in Connecticut. Go to 8 on the Break in Dunedin, New Jersey and play Street Fighter there. If he had never said that to me and I never listened to him, likely I never would have started playing competitive Street Fighter and traveling. I never would have gotten the confidence I had to be in front of people. I never would have been able to do things that I did in my work life and my personal life. I never would have ever placed at Evo. I never would have turned on a camera and talked to it. I never would have live streamed. I never would have done any of these things. Excuse me. Ever, any of them. If it wasn't for Scott. Okay? Now, were there ads on that podcast? Of course there were. There's ads on every video I had. I was still partnered with Machinima at the time. And so all the videos that I had those ads on them, and I could have removed the ads. All right? Personally, I just don't see, I'll be honest here, I don't see the big deal. When you're doing a 2-hour podcast, a 3-hour podcast, and you're doing one tribute segment to someone, all right? Does that mean that the whole thing has to be, demonetized? And you can argue either way. That's up to you. You can argue that. That's fine. You can say, yes, it should be. All right? My take on it is, if you're going to do that, then separate that portion and make a whole video just about that tribute and then demonetize that tribute. All right? But take a look at shows, and by the way, this is not an equivalent comparison, but take a look at, like, the Oscars. Every year at the Oscars, there's a big tribute segment. All the big people, all the prominent actors we have lost this year, right? And they run the segment. It's a big tribute, a well-to-do, shows all their great roles or whatever, okay? Is the Oscars demonetized? Did they say, well, because we're doing a tribute on our show today of those who we lost this year, we care about a lot, and we miss, we're not going to have any advertisers on the show. I'm not aware of that happening, okay? At all, okay? So, I'm just, that's the only comparison I can really make, all right? Internet content creation is a new thing for everybody, all right? But for me, I'm doing a 2 or 3 hour podcast. That's the segment I put out. That was it. You saw it word for word. That wasn't edited. That's the segment. Excuse me. Howard comes out in this video, tells me that basically I'm an awful person who only cares about himself. I publicized and monetized Scott's death. That's only I was publicizing the death of a friend, right? Really. And again, I wasn't breaking the bank. I didn't make a ton of money. It was 11,000 views on that video. So maybe I made $10, 15 maybe at the time. Who knows? I don't care. That wasn't what it was about. Okay, it was one segment, a tribute show, and I much rather would have people know about Scott than not, which is why that was in that show. You understand? So, the actual truthful part about this is that Howard says, or the reason I think Howard bring this up, he's upset with me because he sent me a text to say Scott passed away. I didn't respond to him because I wasn't responding to anything from him because he'd been a jackass to me at the end there before I moved. Excuse me. And basically, he's personally insulted at that. Okay? Now, Howard was not the first person to text me about Scott's death. Howard has a very overinflated sense of importance in my life. Okay? He does. I had already received 2 other texts about Scott's death from people previously in the Street Fighter community who knew Scott way better than Howard did. I knew Scott way better than Howard did. All right? I was there in the formative years of Street Fighter in Connecticut. I was in the arcades with T and Scott. I was traveling to tournaments with Scott back in the day. ECC and all of that. I spent way more time with Scott than Howard ever did. Okay? For him to basically say something like this, you would think, oh, this was a friend and we all were equally spending time with this guy and he was our old buddy. He was my old buddy. He wasn't Howard's old buddy. He didn't know him from back in the day. Howard didn't know Scott, all right, in any kind of a major capacity until much later. He knew of him, but was Howard over Scott's house playing Street Fighter on the cabinet with T? No, he was not. He was never invited. He wasn't going to the tournaments with us, okay? Howard has absolutely no right to make claim to the rights to say, I had the right to tell you about someone's passing, and because you didn't respond to me about it, you're an asshole. Okay? He doesn't. All right? I already heard about Scott's passing from several other people who knew Scott way better than Howard. Howard was essentially passing info through the grapevine late. All right? And then takes it upon himself to actually be upset because apparently he didn't get credit for it. Right? He didn't get credit for it. Even though in that video, I actually said, if you didn't pay attention to it, Howard texted me and said that Scott had passed away. And I said, and others, because it's true. Others, you wouldn't know the others. You guys don't know the others. It's old school people from the Street Fighter community. You wouldn't know them. Why would I mention them in the video? Okay? So, to me, this is the ultimate hit below the belt. This is, if you want to say all the things they already said about the video up to this point were completely and 100% true, I don't know how you can actually defend this part of the video. This is insanely hurtful to me. This is actually like, I'm not kidding now. All right, I'm not exaggerating. I don't want to be friends with Howard ever again after this portion of the video. In fact, I would rather never speak with him ever again. I refuse to have any kind of a relationship with someone who has such a aggrandized self-importance to think that this guy was the exclusive person who could tell me that a friend of mine from back in the day had passed away. And that because I didn't personally contact him after the fact and say, oh, thank you so much for the information, and then slam me in a video publicly stating that I publicized and monetized his death. All right? There's exaggeration, and then there's malicious intent. All right? That's malicious intent right there. That's the actual textbook example of internet defamation. You've seen it. You can't, that is it. You can actually clip that portion of the video there. After seeing the context, you can clip that and say defamation. That's exactly what that is. All right? So, I have absolutely positively no desire whatsoever to ever speak to this man again. All right? And I didn't. Besides one more time. I did speak to him one other time. All right? After this very hurtful... Well, I take that back. It was before this. Never mind. I got the timeline confused. I did speak to him one more time. Before this video had come out and his intentions were not clear. I didn't know this, okay? I figured he's being mean to me in Connecticut. He's going to ditch me for my last event. But I didn't know that his feelings were this deep-rooted at the time, all right? Now we know from this portion of the video. Now, I hate to say it. John is involved in this. I'm shocked. I'm appalled. John had gripes against me. But the fact that he's going along with this shit, you know, John knows me. John knows the kind of guy I am. We spent tons of time together. For him to even go along with this and include this in the video, I don't even know what to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can have gripes against me, things I did wrong over the years. You could argue about money. You can argue about anything. But this is blatant character assassination. This is, we hate you. We never want to deal with you ever again. Now, if someone said something like this about you, especially because I was always a closer friend to Scott than they ever were. I knew him before they did. I spent more time with him than they ever did. I knew more about him than they ever did. But somehow they're going to tell me that I don't have the right to do a tribute to my friend and share my memories with him on the internet. I don't deserve that. I don't have the right to do that, right? That's what they're saying in this video, okay? So if someone did that to you, would you ever want to be friends with them ever again? Ever? Would you ever want to speak to them again? Would you have any desire to reach out to them and try to mend a friendship? Or would you be like, okay, well, that's it. You know, that's the straw that broke the camel's back. This is the portion of this video. And by the way, there's a fucking hour left. How? This is the portion of the video that for me is the end of everything, right? Why, you know, who even cares what else they say in the rest of the video? Because I can tell you, we'll go through it real quick, but I guarantee you nothing that they say after this, all right, is ever going to top this. This is the worst thing you can basically say about me, besides maybe I'm a murderer, okay, or a rapist or something, that I'm a horrible person who would disrespect and monetize the memory of my friend. And you know what I'm saying? It's ludicrous. I would also like to know who all these people are back home who hate me too. Because it's funny, none of them said that to me either, right? These fucking people on the internet who just want to, you know, propagate this negative bullshit with each other. And fucking, oh yeah, we all hate Phil because he moved away and everything. Who are you? Where does this toxicity come from? And how the fuck do you get on with your life? If this is the kind of shit, the circle of hate that you have here for me, right? Oh, no one's going to talk to him anymore. We weren't talking to him. No one wants anything to do with that guy, right? Like, holy shit, man. Do you think I want to go back to Connecticut and rekindle my friendship with my Street Fighter buddies? So anyway, let's continue and see what else is in this video.
This is what dude, if one of my friends died, I wouldn't be making a video about it. I wouldn't be publicizing their death.
Yeah. You wouldn't do a tribute.
It's terrible, man. Terrible.
Yeah, it's
okay.
It's dirty business, man.
It's dirty.
It's dirty.
After that, I don't fucking talk.
That was it for you.
That was it for me, man.
Yeah.
That was it for me.
Okay. Yeah, that'll do it. Jeez.
I'm sorry for being so angry about it, but this burns me, man, because it's things like this that we should even be avoiding.
Yeah. And like, and his whole thing will be to retort to you. His response will be that, oh, you should have told me that you feel it, but you did. It's like, it's again, it's back to the apology thing. It's, you could tell someone so many times, right? And they apologize, but they keep doing the same behavior over and over. At a certain point, you realize this is who they are. They're not really apologizing. they're not really going to change.
No,
and this is how it is, and you have to make the decision like, do I want this in my life or not? You know, which is affecting you in a negative way.
Yeah, it affected all of us in a negative way, and I'm at a point in my life. I'll be completely honest.
How did making a tribute to my friend who passed away affect you so poorly, Howard? I'd love to hear that, because he won't say that. He'll just say it did. How? How did I ruin your life by making a tribute to Scott, a heartfelt tribute? You are
with you, where I'm getting older, and I'm starting to realize things more and more. And one of the things that I cherish in my life now are the people that are around me, man.
Absolutely. I mean, what else is there?
That is what I cherish.
That's all that matters, man.
I don't care about games. I don't care about, about what I have. That doesn't.
If you had millions of dollars right now, but you had no one around you, you had no family or friends, but you had all the money, what is that a good life?
No, it's not.
I don't know.
What are they talking about? This whole video, it's not about money. It's not about the money, but money gets brought up constantly. And now I'm literally referenced as the guy surrounded by money, but has no friends. And would you be happy if you were in that same position like Phil? Like, they literally just compared me. That's me. Again, that's the same as Pay Me Tons. They said dark side in the Pay Me Tons video. They literally just said, Phil is the guy with all this money who moved across the country, and now he's by himself, and he's completely alone, and we wouldn't be happy if we had that. All right? They literally just said it. All right? But again, it's not about money. It's not about jealousy. It's nothing about that, because Phil just kept speaking out of turn nasty things about us. Absolutely, this video has nothing to do with money, even though we've mentioned it 72 times so far. Right.
It's not. Yeah. He moves away, which, like you said, at this point, it's your decision. We support you.
Absolutely.
Hope you do well in your endeavors.
I hope everyone does well.
But what happens? He leaves and he doesn't contact us. And the only reason
wrong, contacted Rambo, not you, because I didn't want to speak with your ass.
And I hate to say this, it feels like the only reason he contacted you, John.
I get contacted. So I'm not gonna say you were not contacted.
But why does he contact you? It's not because he wants to see how you're doing. It's to do playthrougs so he can make money.
Yeah, we'll get into this. Let me speak on this a little bit. So going back to his Thanksgiving video, he says there's a lot of rumors about why we're not doing stuff. And he goes, it's definitely not about the money. And it's not about me revealing something personal. It's definitely not that. But
okay. This will be the final segment. I will not be pausing as much in this final segment because I need to finish this and it's getting super duper late. So let's do it.